My experiences in the Coast Guard in World War II were very positive. My rapport with the men, and I served with many, many photographers, was great. I think that most of the men were married or had friends back home, and I think I was their little sister, their mother, or their aunt. Now, after I finished boot camp with the usual indignities, when the Coast Guard discovered that I was an experienced photographer, I was sent immediately up to the Port of New York to resume my duties. I never knew what I was going to do from day to day. One day I might photograph, which I did photograph President Truman when he first took office, when he reviewed the troops in Central Park, or I may photograph the German submarines when they surrendered, or I would just photograph a homecoming parade with General MacArthur, General Wainwright, and Admiral Halsey. Or I may just stay in the darkroom, process my film, and print the photographs that I took or the men took before me. Now, actually the work that I really enjoyed was teaching our young men the photographic process. I taught them aerial photography, motion picture, still, darkroom procedures. Now, the Coast Guard manned at least 400 or more fighting ships all over the globe in every conflict. We tried to have a photographer aboard every ship that we could, which of course was not possible. And it was my job to teach these young men the photographic process, how to take care of their cameras in the jungles, how to take care of their cameras wherever they went, how to mix developer with seawater. There was so much to the photographic process that people never knew about. I had to teach these young men, and how to take the best pictures and stay alive. That was the key, how to stay alive. We had photographers all over in the jungles, and we wanted to have a photographer about most of the landing barges, particularly Utah and Omaha Beach and Guadalcanal. We wanted to document these landings, and that's what my job was all about. I saw the carnage, the bloodshed on the beaches. I saw the heads buried in the sand. I saw so much of the photographs that came back. I never could speak about this. I prayed for these men. I prayed for our photographers and their families when I processed these films. My most exciting experience in the Coast Guard was when I boarded the Liberty ships at the war's end. These Liberty ships had thousands and thousands of GIs coming home. And as we passed the Statue of Liberty, a hush would fall over that ship. The men cried openly. They sobbed. They were so glad to come home. And when I think back, I remember when we went into the military, we were frightened children, but we soon become hardened warriors. But when we passed that beautiful lady in that harbor, we became children again because we were coming home. Thank you.
Well, Lorraine, what kind of quarters did you stay in? What kind of quarters?
Well, there are 1,000 of us spars stayed at a hotel on 72nd Street and Broadway. We took a subway to work every day, changed at Canal Street, and our lab was right down next to the Staten Island Ferry. So every day we had to take the subway to work, and then back in the afternoon. Mm-hmm.
So did you keep in touch with any of your fellow spars after the war was over?
Oh, yes. After the war ended, we were bridesmaids for each other. We were godmothers to our children. There were 4 of us that were very close. One of my friends was in Massachusetts, another one in Michigan, where I was from, and one from Ohio. We were so proud because we all were alive up until a year ago in our 80s. And then last year, 2 of my friends passed away, so there's just 2 of us left. But we sent Christmas cards, we visited one another. We stayed very good friends.
I think that would be worthwhile for you to mention the recognition that the Coast Guard recently gave the spars that you participated in.
Which one
the
is
ship.
this? Oh, the ship.
cutter.
Yes, yes. During World War II, there was a ship called the Spar, and it was the first sailing ship that was named after women and in our honor. After the war ended, it still stayed in force, and then that poor ship started to get ill, and it had to be put down. So about 6 years ago, we went to the ending of the ship, and that night, about 25 of us went, of course, for the decommissioning. That night, we went to dinner. And after a few Manhattans and in tears, we all said, well, that's not right not to have our spar called our ship called the Spar. So they said, Lorraine, you'd better talk to the commandant, and which I did. I called the commandant and I said, sir, there are so many of us spars who are very sad because there will be no more another ship called the Spar. He said, you know, we never thought of it. So 6 years later, the ship was built. It was called the Spar, and the christening was in Wisconsin, and 125 of us old spars went. We marched in with very proud, and then after shakedown cruise, about 50 of us went to Alaska for the commissioning, and again we marched in very proud in the rain, then the snow then, but the new ship is called a Spar number 2, and it was captained by a woman, and we were very proud of her. Mm-hmm.
Well, I would like to mention a couple of things that Lorraine has done since, in more recent years, because she's just such an incredible person. When we were raising money to build the Women in Military Service Memorial, she led the effort in the state of Michigan to get money, and she was trying to get the state to donate $50,000, and it wasn't going very well. And so she finally got a hold of one of the committees, and so they suggested it might be useful if some of them came to be there when they considered voting to give this $50,000. And when they appeared, Lorraine had organized 500 women, veterans in Michigan, to be there that day. And needless to say, the legislators there took one look at this, and they passed the legislation for the $50,000. And then when her son was producing her first grandson here in the Washington, D.C. area, she decided to move from Michigan to the Washington, D.C. area, and she started volunteering as a docent at the memorial there at the gateway to Arlington National Cemetery. And it bothered her that there wasn't a good book of photographs of Arlington National Cemetery. So and by this time, Lorraine was 80 years old. And she decided that she would like to produce such a book. And I said, if you take the photographs, we'll see that the book gets published. And we have now sold something over 45,000 copies of the book that were photographs of Arlington National Cemetery that Lorraine put together. So she was a heroine in World War II, and she remains one yet today. And how old are you now, Lorraine?
83.
83, and she still comes to the memorial and works about 2 or 3 days a week. So she's an incredible person.